Hey guys, my name is Hashim Mohammed and I make tech videos. So we humans as consumers of technology do not perceive products or buy products just because of its product specifications or the features that it possesses. In the end, I think we're not just built of facts and figures, but we buy certain products because we have some sort of emotional connection or relationship with that product or service. And that's what we're gonna learn in this video is how do we add or how do we build that emotional value in the startup of the product that we're building. And yes, I'll be talking about how to build for digital experiences or digital products or digital devices, but you can apply this kind of strategy in other disciplines of design if you're able to understand and make use of this. However, the problem that I'm trying to solve, or the problem that I had personally, and the reason I had to learn these principles is because I wanted to make some. Because as a maker, and as someone who's a hacker or someone who can build things, I just wanted to know how we can build something that people actually want, and for that, because wants is not the same for everyone and it's not the same everywhere. So we have to take into consideration a lot of parameters. And for the sake, let me preface this by saying that in this video, I will be talking a lot about the UX process as well. For those guys who already are familiar with how to design UX, you can skip to almost half of this video because that's where I'll be talking about the emotions part or how to integrate the actual emotional value into your UX if you are already familiar. But if you don't know what the UX process looks like, just sit back and watch the entire video because I think it will be of a huge benefit to you if you are someone who builds things or digital products, especially. With that said, and without any further ado, let's get started. So here we are using Figma, a graphic design or an interface design tool that I personally am familiar with and something that I use personally, and I'm pretty fast at it. So I use Figma. By no means is this the only tool that I recommend uh, or a tool that you should be using. You can use PowerPoint, you can use Photoshop if that's what you do, if that's what you're good at. If you can use InVision Sketch or Balsamic, I don't know, Draw.io. You can use just hell. It can even be paper and pen, but there will be a point where you're gonna be using some sort of digital tool like PowerPoint eventually. So for that part alone, maybe you can use PowerPoint if you're not using any of these graphic design tools. We're not taking advantage of any of those kinds of functionalities in these programs. So it's okay if you use paper and pen. Okay, in I just wanted to preface this by saying that I will be using a lot. I mean, I'll be talking a lot about UX process, but the agenda of this video is not to teach you guys how to really um, how to how to get used to the UX process, or it's not really about exposing you to the UX procedures. But my agenda is to help you understand uh, in deeper sense from a user's perspective, or how to understand or empathize with the user and really make something that they can eventually use or relate to, or be passionate about, or can ultimately be relate to and clear that bias as someone who is a creator of that product. Okay, so that's really what the agenda of the product is, but of this video is. But I will be, of course, for obvious reasons, um, be touching on the UX process now. Yes, this is because I'm a UX designer. By the way, I'll be talking a lot from a UX side. But if you are from other discipline, like a product developer, like some other discipline, like you make physical products, you can actually even relate to this. But it really is up to you and how you want to use this. Okay, by no means is this the absolute and the ultimate way um, of UX, or this is not the ultimate way of doing things. I'm not saying that. It's just that how it has worked for me, how I have learned it from my mentors, teachers, and from my university, and I actually combined a lot of different techniques, and I think this is what works for me, and I hope it works for you as well. So, without any further ado, let's begin. So, the first step in what I do is we clearly define in as it as in the most general point or the most eagle's view point of view is your purpose or your goal or the problem that you're trying to solve or the need that you're trying to fulfill for your customers. But this is from the perspective of you as either as a company or you as an individual who is the solution creator. Okay, this is your organization's goal, or if you're doing a project for the client, you're really gonna talk about what they're trying to solve. Okay, it can not 9 out of 10 times it doesn't really have to be a problem. Like for example, Airbnb's problem can be something like the hotels are really expensive and. In hotels, you don't really get to experience the culture of a place or something like that. But you don't really have to go really deep on that. But it has to be in like in a line, maybe two or three, not really more than 3 lines, but it has to define what is your mission really. And if you can't really answer that question, keep asking why you're doing that. Let me give you an example. Okay, let me take an example of maybe you have an idea or the client comes and tells you that I want to make an app that allows users to be able to add beautiful filters to their photographs. Okay, now why are you actually adding filters? In the end of the day, your mission is to make uh, the photographs of your users to look a lot prettier. So that can be a lot more the more general you are, the more open, I mean, the more the statement is generalized, the more you'll be open to ideas in the following steps, because this is really from where uh, everything everything is going to be drawn from. Okay, this is the first step, and if the first step isn't really, if it is not really crystal clear, you are going to get stuck in the other process. Okay, so it's not really the most easiest thing to do in the world, although it looks really simple. And as you can see here, I added a really ugly gradient. Now if you're really a better designer than I am, by all means go ahead and do that. But really the purpose of this whole thing is not really for the public to see, but it's more so for the team who are involved, the stakeholders, or the people who are actually involved in this project to actually get an idea of this project. So it's only for you and for the people involved. So if it gets the job done, if everybody are able to understand, then it's enough. Okay, it can be uglier than this. It doesn't really matter. The reason I actually added a gradient behind this, if you don't know what a gradient is basically what you can see in the background here. To me personally, I like blue color is a color that to me attracts in a positive sense. Okay, now I added gradient just because I want this to be on the top, and it always has to pop up. Okay, it always has to remind me of the purpose and why I'm doing this project, and that's the reason I put this in the gradient here. And like I said, try to keep asking questions of why, and then that will be able to, and then you'll be able to answer what is the problem that you're trying to solve. More often than not, the client may not tell you in the most generic sense. Sometimes they may tell you, sometimes they may not. So it's maybe your job to keep asking questions and to understand. Maybe in other videos, I'll talk about, in the forthcoming videos, I'll be talking about how to make the most out of interviews or client meetings so you can understand the user in a better way. Um, Something that I also want to add is that by no means is this project here also the project that here is that you can see here is a fictional project. Actually, I am working on a project that is similar to this, but it is by no means. This is actually, as you can see, Gotham City doesn't even exist. Gotham actually is a fictional town for Batman. For those of you who are living under the rock, again, so. what I did, the project that I'm trying to solve is basically in a small town called Gotham. I want to allow other entrepreneurs to be able to collaborate with other entrepreneurs so that they can increase their business opportunities or business or yeah, in general like that. So this is from the perspective of you. So this is what the goal of the organization of for whom you're making, or maybe I mean when I say whom you're making, I mean to say if you're doing it for the client, then you're gonna express the client's agenda here. Okay, what is it that you're trying to achieve with this project or company? That is what's supposed to be the goal. There's something else that I don't want to actually show this in a video. I mean, I've not really done it before, but not when I say that I've not done it before, I mean to say before I started this video, I thought maybe there are some things that I want to show you with an example, maybe some things that I think you can understand or it's kind of easy to understand. So what I do is normally after the step, you have to define some things from again from the perspective of you as a company or you as an independent developer or you as a project owner. You can define the following things. The first thing is success metrics. Now, a lot of times what happens is when this can come maybe after the whole process that I'm trying to define here. It doesn't have to be like exactly in the sequence. It can be in different orders. Sometimes you'll get a better idea after you do the requirements, and then you come back to this. Sometimes it can work like that way, but to me, it works in this process. Okay. So the second thing I would normally do is I would define something called success metrics. Now, every project has a way to measure success. Now, when I say success, to me it means, for example, every project like Facebook. To Facebook, it can mean the amount of revenue that you're generating out of the advertisers, the number of active users, the number of people who are active on creating, I mean, content creators, and the amount of videos that are being shared or something like that. For YouTube, it can be, I don't know, probably number. It cannot be just the number of videos. It can be more complicated metrics. So define all those metrics. Okay, it really sets up your expectations and out of the project. So you can be really happy if you're content. I mean, if these are my goals, so I hope I have achieved them. And second thing is, of course, business goals. And I mean, I'm not really much of an MBA graduate, so I would say business goals, of course, is how much you expect to do what you want to do, how much of revenue you want to do. This is more of a business plan. Of course, this does deserve a separate video on its own. But business goals, as you can see, is it just defines how much or what and how you intend to make money out of this project. Okay, if that sounds interesting to you. Anyway, so now coming down to the next step is user goals or the requirements. Okay, now you go down into okay, I define what the problem is or what the problem or the project that I'm trying to solve. Now, how do I solve this? Now, I intend the problem to have. I intend this project to solve the following problems. Okay, now really you're now getting down into the details and you're saying with my problem what can you do with that, can you do with that product or service. So now you're going to say, okay, with my product, users can be able to talk with other users. Maybe people can do better corporate social responsibility. People will be able to get in touch with other entrepreneurs. People can better understand what other businesses are doing, or people can understand what other businesses. People will be able to search other businesses and contact them and do all of that stuff. Now, if you have actually done some client projects or client meetings before, you might say that, okay, listen to me. This is not really the perfect requirements or the user goals. I just call it user goal. I'll tell you what this is. 9 out of 10 times the client will not tell you on their face, this is what I want. It's most of the time the job of the designer to find out what the user wants. And that's actually the whole point of this video, is to understand what the user wants, right? Now, how did I arrive at this? Now, as you can see here, sometimes the client can be really specific. Like, client can tell you, like, hey, in my application, I want a screen which allows people to, uh, you know, learn about the company or something like. I want a screen which allows you to log in with Facebook or Pinterest or something like that. Really specific. Now, something that they can just tell you features on your face, and it's all on your call. Okay, it depends on the situation or the context. Now, of course, like I said, I may make a separate video on how you can make the most out of these interviews or the meetings with with your potential stakeholders. But for now, the thing is, this is not the this is like the more refined version of the requirements. Okay, this again is a lot more general that you don't have to really talk about the features exactly. Like, don't talk about uh, listen, I want to have Facebook login. I want to have this feature, though that feature. No, it's not really that time now. You have to talk about what is it that you expect your customers to be able to do. You may have heard of something called user stories. Yeah, but it's kind of that way. Except now here in this case, you're really not going to follow that procedure. Like as a this, you'll be able to do this. No, if you are if you know what that is, then okay, fine. Otherwise, all they're doing is you're just defining if it's customer goals. I think my customer should be able to do these things with the product. Okay, how did I come up with this? So what I do is normally these are some techniques that we follow. Okay, the client will not give you a perfect requirements like these. Okay, these are not perfect by any means. This is just me refining what I understood from my client. But like I said, this is more or less like a real life project, but I've actually changed certain aspects of this to make it look fictional and to not contradict with my actual project. Okay. Anyway, so there are some techniques that you can follow. You'll actually then what you have to do is you can go and ask your clients what exactly you want. Keep asking them, and take notes of what requirements. Or sometimes they'll give you notes that are really specific. Sometimes they're really vague. So all you have to do is take notes. Okay, it can be in the most crappy format as possible. But what you can do is with that you have to refine it down to something like this. That's something that you can understand as a product developer. Okay, now this is what the client actually means by this. Something that's really clear to you as someone who is a product creator. So how can you understand that? The first thing you would do is just take notes. Okay, and the first technique that you can follow is something called competitor analysis. And simply what it does is as the word describes, is you're going to analyze all the competitors in the market that are for this application. Like for example, uh, let's say maybe Uber. Okay, Uber has competitors like Lyft. Okay, what you can do is if, for example, I don't know if Lyft came first or Uber came first. I mean Uber came first. I think so. I think Lyft came like way later on. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. Okay, let's say if I'm making a product for Lyft. Okay, what I will do is I go to Uber's. I'm sorry. Let's go to the Uber project here. And what I will do is I'll note down all the advantages or the problems that it's able to solve really well. Okay, the problem that how it became successful or the advantages of this project. And then what I'll do is I'll also identify the loopholes of this project. I'll go ahead and research on what the customers are complaining about. Probably something like the app has terrible interface, or something like maybe the cabs are not paid really well. I mean, the drivers are not paid really well, or something like that. You just list down all the competitors, find out what they're good at, find out what they're bad at, and then write down maybe like when I say find out what they're bad at and what they're good at, you may have to go ahead and take a look at the customer feedback, okay, of that application. So you need to spend some time on that. You may make a table on that product, maybe a short description to understand, maybe to present it to other users. I mean, to other people in the panel, so they know what product that is. If they don't know about the product, if some for some reason nobody knows what Uber is, then you could probably describe what Uber is, and you can talk about what it has excelled at and what it's really not good at. Okay, list down the competitors, it really gives you an idea of a problem that's already been solved, maybe, and you can probably understand the users from that, because that product already exists, so you can learn from that. The second thing, and the most important thing, is the stakeholder interviews and requirements workshop. You can, of course, learn about stakeholder interviews and requirements workshop from uxmastery.com. That's really a website that I've been taught from. Well, stakeholder interviews is basically understand uh, I guess, the politics behind the users, or I would say it's more to understand what they're believing in, and this is where really the emotions part come in. Requirements workshop, like I said, is pretty much what you do is you just write down all the notes. Okay, stakeholder interviews is to understand what their goals are. Okay, and together with these two things is what you come up with something called user goals. I'm sorry. So the user goals will come something like this. Now, if you can understand from, like, for example, stakeholder interviews, this should not be something like, can you tell what language do you expect us to build in? No, that's not really the question you want to ask, because that's your job to figure that out. Maybe if you're a product, I mean, if you're a programmer or something, you gotta ask questions from the perspective of what you intend from the project. Okay, really ask high level questions, and because these are the things. It's something that in the end of the day, you want your product to be actually used. Okay, otherwise there's no use. So really ask high level questions and get to understand the goals and the politics, or their intention behind the project. So the question should be more tailored than that. So what do you expect to make out of the project? How do you expect where do you expect the users to come from? What what age do you expect users to be? Now, of course, now some questions like this you can ask. There's no wrong question to ask, in my opinion. But sometimes the users, I mean, the client may know the answer, and sometimes they will tell you the wrong answer. It doesn't really matter. Just note it down, because maybe the odds are the client can be correct. Okay. The next thing is to really go down and make something called personas. Now, I think this is not really not okay. Wait, let me zoom out of here because so that you can see it. Zoom out. Okay. So these are basically fictional users, or I would say, yeah, fictional users. It can be anybody. More often than not, it's just users. Okay, your customers. Okay, so how did I design this? Well, not the design, but how did I come up with these profiles? First thing to do is you can have these images. Images really helps you visualize your user, maybe empathize with the user a little bit more. But these are fictional people. Okay, you can conduct interviews. Now, to really understand the user, there are a number of techniques that you can do. Of course, you can send out surveys. Like, you can get like huge bunch of answers, like, what age are you, what country are you from, maybe like that. Or what do you do in your free time? And sometimes, in surveys, the people give you answers in pretty much in a hurry. So surveys are not really the best way to get really understanding of what they want, because they're not in their natural habitat. Okay, and more often than not, as Steve Jobs said, how do they know what they want if they have not even seen it? So like, it doesn't really work that way. So what you have to do is you have to go to the user themselves and really understand about what they do. Okay, if you think that they are the potential users, go ahead and research and find out what they do. You can go ahead and talk to them in person, or what you can do is you can search them on their social media, and then just go ahead and just see the photos and just understand what the life looks like, and that's all it takes. I mean, what their age is, and pretty much just identify a couple of make a fake profile. Just give them some random name. Okay, in this case, I found that the potential users are like mostly on the ages 50 plus, and I just define what their interests are, like what they're passionate about, what they have, what they don't have. Not what they don't have, I'm sorry, but what they have. Like, for example, they have an iPhone. Okay, they're interested in social events. Okay, Maybe they're interested in ice hockey events or something like that. Okay, what they have, something like they have properties, they have these, and they have this amount of possessions. Like this is how much money they make. So it really helps you. Now, how you do that is pretty much A, you can go to that person, like I said again. B is you can go ahead and social media and investigate. And surveys are like they're called quantitative results. There's something called qualitative. It's something like you can go to the person and actually record them, versus quantitative is you can get a huge masses of data. Okay, you can either go to data set. I mean, you can get huge data sets or data from people, and they will actually answer bulk I mean, there will be a huge number of answers being given by your survey takers or something like that. Those will may not be correct, but like I said, it sometimes, for example, in Instagram, like I said, one of my professors sent me this that uh, you know the natural habitat of an Instagram user is probably in the bathroom, okay, because that's where they use it. And if you're gonna ask the user to take a survey, they will not give you the accurate answers because they're not in that circumstance. I'm really sorry about that noise. Anyway, so they're not really in that background or in that context, so they will not give you the right answer for that. So that's the reason why that's really important. So here is some example personas. Photo again, it's something that is really encouraged. I would really suggest you to either draw a photo uh, of your user and write this down here. Now you actually got a better understanding of who your users are. Now with this data, you're going to do something called the ideas board. Now, I'm not really sure that this is called the Crazy Egg method. I think this is followed in Google as well. What they do is pretty much, and there are a number of ways you can do this. There's some multiple variants of this form of ideation process. Now, I think this is called Crazy Egg. Now, what I'm doing here is I think it's called Crazy Egg or Crazy Eight. I'm not sure what it's called. If someone knows what this process is called, please leave in the comment section below. What this actually does is, as you can see here, all of my user goals, like these are actually the requirements in the end of the day. Like I said, these are requirements, okay? Um, so what I did is I actually added some color codes. Now, like I said again, this is not really important to use color codes alone. You can actually just put 1, 2, 3, and you can just put 1, 2, 3. And what I'm actually doing is this is the problem. Okay, this is one feature or one thing that I want my customer or my user to be able to do. Now I will jot down all the functionalities or all the possible ways I can solve that problem. Okay, so one of the problems that I'm trying to solve is, as you can see, what is that? Users will be able to learn what other businesses are doing. I'm sorry. So how can I solve that problem? I can actually solve this problem using either a blog post. I can create forums. I can create wiki, free guest book, links like Hacker News, like in Hacker News. So these are some ways that are I can probably facilitate or for the user or probably solve this problem from. The second problem is something like users will be able to fulfill their corporate social responsibility in a much easier way than before. These are some ideas that I came up with. Maybe I can create a class of field. Maybe I can create a store where people can put out all the products that they're no longer using or something like that. Probably send out newsletters to all the other users like. This company is giving out all the used computers. So if you're interested in doing that, just contact this email or contact this company, and they'll do it, or probably just crowdfunding campaigns maybe. That's some ideas you have. If you're in a multiple team, the color codes are actually wrong here. It's supposed to be corresponding to this. But anyways, this is something that I do. But personally, if you don't like this process, you can of course put 1, 2, 3. Just put 1, 2, 3 here, and then just stop writing ideas. Or you can just put the user story right on here. If you're doing this in physical process, like if you're doing a paper pen, you can do that, or what you can do is you can take a wall and then put 1, 2, 3 or something like that, and then if you're having a team of people, what normally is done in Crazy Eight is like you ask all the people in your team to post ideas for each and every user goal. Okay, for example, for the first one, how do you think we'll be able to solve the problem? Give them a bunch of sticky notes, and then they'll actually go ahead and write the problems under each of these sections. Okay, so that's how it works. So pretty much. Um, for example, they'll come and post blog posts. It doesn't really have to be a feature. No, it can be something like I want the. It can be again generic. In this case, it's not really important to be specific as well. And like in this case, I have pointed out features. Now, the way I would do this, if it's as an individual, like I said, the only reason I'm able to do all this is because I'm general here. I'm being not so specific here, and now I'm being specific and actually not even specific here. I'm just able to open up to a number of possible ways I can solve this problem. So I know that maybe this problem can be solved to this means as well. I can probably use messages. I can probably use video call, audio call, all of these processes. In a crazy process, what normally happens is after all of them have posted their ideas, everyone now after everyone has posted ideas, everyone gets to vote which idea they like the most under each of these user goal. It doesn't have to be one idea that they like the most. It can be a combination. Maybe one specific person likes wiki and feed the most, so they can vote for this and they can say I like wiki the most, maybe because that's also a problem. I think this better than the other. Uh, so the other way, so they can vote. You can probably take a printout of this, or probably um, if you're doing this on paper pen, just give all of them a bunch of stickers or something, and they can just come and post it alongside the forum, or you can just ask user to like strike out or put a tick mark beside forums if they like forums or something like that. You can give a color pen to each one of these team members and ask them to vote for that particular feature if that's what they're into. And that's pretty much how it's done on the Quizy 8. Okay, this is what normally happens in Quizy 8. This is a problem that I think that you may encounter. Listen, this is all based on numbers, okay? And this is based on individual experiences that you have undergone or your teammate have undergone. Not saying that this is the worst process, not saying this is the best process. I'm not saying this is not the way to do, but you can definitely say that that the team can be incredibly biased, okay? Because more often than not, you're a bunch of nerds who are making this product for the people. You have a lot of empathy for them, but you are just sitting in the studio making this product, and you're not really in the context of who will be actually using this product. So you will be having this bias, and sometimes you will work for something like blog post or guest book, not knowing that listen, the user does not even know what blog post and guest book are, because that is based on your experience. Okay, you're not really taking into account what, like for example, Lena here. For example, Lena is interested in forming relationships. Okay, forums is definitely not the kind of person for her. I don't think so. She's gonna be able to be comfortable using forums. So you may think that forums is not the ideal way to solve the problem, but who knows? Maybe the user has already used forums. So it's very important to take into consideration the the emotions that the user feels. Okay, and think to really understand user from their perspective of feelings. Okay, and that's why I say we're gonna talk about something called emotions connections. I'm gonna talk about in a minute, and that's really the problem with this approach, is that it's just a bunch of nerds voting for each of these ideas, and it can be correct because you're not just seeing this, but you're also seeing this persona doing it. Maybe a persona is wrong. It's not describing them correctly. Or maybe your research was wrong. Like, for example, maybe you're saying they like to do form relationships, and as a result, they do this. So I'm not saying this is wrong because you will eventually come back to this step, but you'll come back to this step after we do another step now. Before this, in a sense that you will understand the user better than in how you're doing it now. So let's go ahead and understand how can we think from the perspective of user. Now this is where it's going to get a little philosophical, and I will tell you something here. Uh, Again, it doesn't have to look like this. It can be as vague. It can be something that it just has to get the job done. It has to communicate the idea to the team, and that's all it has to do. So, like I said, it's gonna get a little philosophical here. I'm going to try my best to be as open and try to be as I'm gonna try my best to explain this as in the most easiest format as possible. But if you're not able to understand, please feel free to contact me by email. My personally favorite way to contact is via email. So yeah, or you can leave the comment in the comment section below. I will try my best to answer this because this is really difficult to explain, but I'm gonna try my best. Okay. Um. So like I'm really. This is where I really want to be able to present in front of the user, and I want to understand if you're able to understand. But like, the way you can get good at this is only with practice. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is you want to describe the emotions that you're feeling, that you, okay. When I say you, it can sometimes mean the client, okay. Who owns the solution? It can mean that person, or if you're a company, you have to first talk about yourself, okay. What are the emotions that you are feeling about this project? Is what is the thing that you need to define first, okay. When I see this project here, which is about how the project is all about how I can connect other users in the same town. That's actually what this project is about. And going through these phases of research that I have gone, I feel really. I think that the client is really empathetic about not the client, but I think the users in general are really empathetic about what other people are doing. So that's why they're really curious. And I think that's why this project makes sense. And I think the user, I mean, based on the personas that I got, based on the research that I've done, I think I'm sorry again. Okay, I think these guys are incredibly friendly, and you have to describe these feelings in a single word. Okay, I know that's going to be extremely hard to do it at first, and what I would suggest you to do is use something called a visual thesaurus. Okay, the link is visualthesaurus.com. I don't know if I will leave a link in the description, but what you gotta do is just go to this tool here. It's a website again. Okay, it's basically called a think map, or I don't know, mind map, I guess. If you don't know how to come up with these words, maybe you have some, like for example, I think the users feel really a sense of belonging, whatever, but you're not able to come up with that word. Okay, so what you will do is you go here and you'll go ahead and type something like belonging, and then look it up, and then you'll get ideas. Okay, oh well, it can mean happiness, or I want to expand on this. Oh, I got some more ideas here. Maybe I'm talking about gaiety. I'm talking about rejoice, happiness. These are different possible meanings for that word, happiness. Okay, you may want to go to, for example, if I mean something like, let's say, for example, belonging. I can tap on that. I will get a more. You can see here there are other possible meanings here. If I mean, for example, closeness, I can click on closeness and I can get even deeper. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. Pretty much, that helps you understand other possible words for that meaning. Okay, other possible words for that word. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Okay, so visual thesaurus will help you understand or get a word for it. It can be in in also in another part of this thing here. It's called mood boards that we'll be doing shortly. Um, so we'll be using that tool again. Okay, so just keep that in handy. Anyway, so that tool will may help you come up with one word. It has to be a single word. If you're not able to really understand that, visual thesaurus can be a guide, but to really keep asking questions like, so in the end of the day, keep keep diving a little deeper and ask questions like, okay, for example, I feel in certain way. Why am I feeling that? What exactly is that? Come up with one word for it and just write down them. And oftentimes you don't come up with this word. I mean, these three words are so difficult to come up with. Actually, it's not so easy because I mean, if I say it's not easy, I mean to say it takes time. Okay. Um, Sometimes you'll come up with a word something that does not even make sense to you, and it's okay. You can reiterate, keep changing, keep until you're really satisfied, and keep looking at when you come up with three words. Or it doesn't have to be three words. Just write up to like 5 words, I would say, not less than three, not more than five. Okay, just come up with at least like 3 words of what you think about, what you feel about this project. Okay, when I say about this project, what you think is, yeah, like I said, what do you think about this project? Okay, come up with 3 words or maximum about 5 words and write it down and keep looking. After you finish like 3 or 5, go back here, look into the project and see if what you're thinking corresponds to what the words that you've written here. Again, it's about you and not the user, so just think about yourself, what you think about this place. It's just about you and the project alone. So that's what it is. The next thing is about users' emotion. Okay, now you're gonna take the shoes of any one of these users. Okay, any of your favorite user, maybe, or just randomly pick one user. Let's say Lina. Okay, and you're gonna think about her using this solution that you created. Now tell me what you think that she will be feeling about this project when she uses the project. Okay, I would feel that she would, after she sees this project, she would see a bunch of companies, she would see a bunch of people in her town. And I would see that, oh well, I want to help these other guys out, so I want to know what the other guys are doing. So I think first of all, Lynette is a small. I mean, it's an old lady in the town, so I would say she feels really empathetic about other people. She really feels and cares about other people, and she's really concerned about what other people are doing, and she's also curious about what other businesses are up to. Okay, so this is what I think uh, the potential my Lina can be feeling. Again, like I said, you have to keep reiterating on this process until it makes more sense to you. Okay, I think my mouse wheel is finally working. It was actually not working before. Oh, come on. Okay, so you have these two things here. Okay, just to add a little accent, I added a rectangle here. It's not really important, but yeah. So these are the two things that I think my user is. This is what I think my user is feeling, and this is what I feel. Okay, don't really think about the fact that both of these are contradicting, or they're. It doesn't have to be the same. I mean, what you feel is not what the user feels, but it has to. You really have to go dive deep into and really empathize with the user and say, oh, maybe the user thinks of this way. So just write down again 3 to 5 keywords. This is how you did it for yourself. Do it here. Okay. Now, for instance, now what you're gonna do is now you have 3 keywords on either side, or 5 keywords on either side, or 4 keywords on either side. What you're gonna do is you're gonna compare, okay, your intentions with the user's intentions, or the user's emotions with your emotions. Both of us feel that the product is trying to be is all about being empathetic with other users, and I'm also being empathetic. And I think when I use a project, I'm being empathetic with other people. So I think the product has to somehow display that sort of empathetic feel, okay, in the project. I know that first. Secondly, in my case, I think the people or the users will really feel friendly. That's what makes sense to me personally. Again, there's no such thing as the right answer, so it doesn't really have to be in a certain way. Like I said, there's no such thing as this is the perfect approach. No, it can mean something to you that it doesn't mean to me, and that's actually what we're trying to do here, right? So we're trying to come down to how we can communicate. Okay, so there's no such thing as a wrong approach. So first thing is, in my case, I think the users will feel friendly, versus I think users will feel more curious when they use it, and that when Lena uses it, I think she will feel more curious. Okay, and uh, when I think about my users, I mean, when I think about using this product, I think I will feel more free. Why is that the case? Because I think when they use a project like this, okay, I think they're all old people. I mean, in general, I think they're more on the older generation side. So I think they're all really free, and I think by using this project, I'm trying to really give back something to the society. So that's the reason I feel free. In the case of the user, they feel really concerned. Okay, this is again the illustration of. I mean, this is just me explaining my thought process. I've put not enough time into this, but again, this is just to explain how I think. Maybe you can think in a much better way, but this is just me explaining my thought process. So I think my users are really like I think they feel really concerned because they want to do corporate social responsibility and they want to give back something to society again. So they feel really concerned. In my case, I think I'm free because they're really some old people who have children, and I think as someone who used it, I think I'll be feeling free of responsibilities. This is a product for entrepreneurs, so you can do anything at your own time and something that you can feel free to collaborate with other people. And I think that's the emotion that I feel. I know maybe that doesn't make sense to you, but it's what I feel, and it's okay if it has to. If that's how you feel, then you just write down that. But now what I do is I say, when I say I feel empathetic, she feels empathetic as well. So I just write down empathetic. The next thing, I feel friendly, but she feels curious, or yeah, she feels curious. So I would think, okay, both of us are not exactly contradicting, but I would say, how would we come and agree to each other on an experience that we both of us will really enjoy, or both of us will be satisfied with? I think both of us want to feel purposeful in the end of the day, and that's actually what is the agenda behind being friendly and being curious. I think all of them want to be collaborative, want to actually make the most of the time with each other, and that's actually what the agenda is. So I think the emotions that I think um, will be mutually satisfactory, would be an ideal word to be put out, would be purposeful. Again, a better idea, if you don't understand all these words, sometimes you will not understand these words themselves, so you always use visual thesaurus. I showed you the website. Go ahead and research on that. We'll get you a better idea. Okay. The next thing is probably the a little more difficult part of it. I think the users. I mean, as a user, I think I would feel free, but she feels more concerned. And this is more of the side where I think I have a bias that is. You can see here, she feels more concerned, but I think I feel more free. Exactly the opposite. Okay. So this is going to be a little more challenging than the previous one. So how you do that is you would really think about okay, the user feels more concerned about what other people are doing. I mean, they're really concerned about um, after they finish their like their pretty much I would say their work life, like since they're all old people, they generally have grandchildren and they're pretty much retired people, so they're generally feeling concerned about the society or I mean the community. Okay, versus after I finish, I think because I'm only 22, I think I'll be feeling free. I don't know, man. I don't have an understanding of how it feels like to be an adult and how it feels like to be an adult. So I think after 50 or something, I'll have enough money. I can just go to the countryside and just relax, so I feel free. So how do we come to a there's no such thing as a wrong answer again. So how do we come to a conclusion, to a feeling that I think my product should express? I think in the end of the day, whether I think after my work life or after my life is after I retire, I should be free or should I be concerned about the community? I think in the end of the day, we all have to be present in the moment. Okay, so I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I think all of us want to make the most of the time. Either we want to be giving the time for the youngsters, or I want to give time for myself. So in either of the cases, I think we want to be present and make the most of the time. So that's the word I came up with, and it's called present. So ultimately, I think my product has to express these three keywords. Has to be empathetic, has to be purposeful, and has to be something that users can feel present. Again, go ahead and research on visual disorders what these words mean if you want to understand. And then next thing is okay. I got empathetic, but I don't really know when I say present. And this is actually, by the way, Christmas time. What do I mean by present is when I say present, it can mean something to somebody else because again, people when you communicate this to someone else, when I say empathetic, it can mean something else to somebody else. Okay, so you have to communicate what you mean by that, and there's no better way to do that probably than to do it with images or visual way of communication. So there's something called mood boards, and there's also something called inspiration boards, and blah blah blah. Now I will show you an example. Okay, with these three keywords, I created something called a mood board. Now this is basically nothing but images that reflect these three keywords. And where did I get these images? Pretty much just anywhere. Okay, I got all these images from Pinterest. I'll tell you how to search them. Okay, and how to create a mood board. But you only get good at this with time and practice. So you will not get good at this immediately, and let me give you some practice ideas, okay? Now here's a mood board that describes these three keywords, okay? Let me go ahead and zoom on here so that you can, uh, come on. I'm gonna zoom out here, and you can see this is my word. I mean, sorry about that. Anyways, so this is a mood board that I created. Just a bunch of images that reflect the mood that I want my user to feel when they use my product. Okay. Initially, when you're starting up, if you have not created a mood board, let me tell you how you can do it. Let's say you have bring along another friend or somebody. Okay. Take individual words. Like let's first take the word empathetic. Okay, what you gotta do is an ideal a website that you probably most of you at least would have heard of is called Pinterest. Okay, just go ahead and search for something like empathetic. Okay, and just go search. And what you gotta do is you can find a lot of these images. Some of these are quotes, so don't take quotes because like maybe I mean to say this is what empathetic means. So I just opened this up, and I don't know why it's opening up a new tab, but there's a huge problem with this mouse. So if you want to just do that, just right click on it and just copy this image. Actually open this. Oh yeah, finally open. So just copy this image, and for this, for those of you who are using the a paper and pen, this is the time when you have to use your computer or your phone. Now it's ideal that there are so many tools called it. There's something called Envision boards. Now they help you create a more organized form of mood boards, but I think it's better if you keep it really unorganized. The reason I keep it really informal, like it looks terrible here, but it's okay because it's not really for the customer. Maybe in the end you can actually share this, but the reason I'm doing this in the graphics design, all you have to do is just copy paste them, or you can just read them on PowerPoint. It doesn't really matter, okay? The reason I'm doing this here instead of using other tools like Envision boards is because you don't really want to think about how to organize. If you use something like Envision boards, again, if you don't know what that is, you can go and Google it. It allows you to get stuck with organizing the mood boards. Not really the time to do that. And again, if, for example, the first couple of images you find may not be exactly what you're looking for in the case of empathetic, I think I found the perfect image when I say empathetic. This is a perfect image that expresses what I mean with it. But so you can just see about like being purposeful. It can be fulfilling life. It can be. It's probably what you're looking for. sometimes when you're searching for presenter, okay, oh, by the way, this is probably the last video for 2018, so you can probably figure out that this is around the time of Christmas, and you know that when I search for present, it's gonna give me results for Christmas gifts. Okay, not really the kind of present I want. The kind of present I want is not gift. Okay, so probably when I say search for present, it can mean something like present. This can be another word. Okay, go search for other words. Okay, because Pinterest is not the best search engine, I would say, but it's a lot better than Instagram, at least. So it's gonna give me a huge bunch of images that really have nothing to do with what I want to actually communicate. But just go ahead and search. It doesn't have to be on Pinterest alone. But Pinterest is one of the best sites you can go look for. Um, so that's what the mood boards is actually for. Okay, it just gives you a better idea of this three words, because three words are just like, it's just boring. So you can make three words in the other day, make three different mood boards for each of these mood boards. For each of these keywords, and then ask your friend to guess what the mood board is trying to say. Like in this case, it can be a little contradicting because I've combined three different words into one, and this is what the product is supposed to make the user feel. So it's not really one word. I mean, it's not really one. So you can make three different keywords and then condense it down to one mood board. That can be an ideal way of solving the problem. Keep doing this a number of times until you think you got good at it, and I think you got a better idea of communicating the idea. So if the user are able to understand what you're trying to communicate, then good job, because you know how to communicate the idea now. Something else that you can do is that there's not just mood boards. There are also some other kind of boards. Okay, now that you got to know what kind of mood that you want to do, you can also create inspiration boards. Pretty much what you do is, like, for example, now you got an understanding of who the user are. You can go down to the ideas board now and have a better idea of who the user are, what kind of moods you want to reflect, and do you think each of these features, for example, blog post can be compared. Do you think the user feels this way? If there's a blog post, do you think they'll be able to use this? So what you can do is short list a bunch of features and compare with the mood boards and see if it works out well. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in here because it looks awkward. I'm gonna choose mood board. The mouse is really messed up, but thankfully, Figma works really well with keyboard. So actually, this video is not so bad for that reason. Anyway, so that's how. Now, thing you go back to ideas board. What you can do is jot down ideas. And you can get a clear picture of what features you think the user will like more, or what users will appreciate more, or the users will use more, and you don't know how to really go down and ask yourself which features would make more sense to the user. So now that you know what you want to build, you can now go down and create something called inspiration boards. Now, for example, a blog post can be a certain way. So you can create inspiration boards. Go down the internet and search for all the blog posts. Maybe I would. These are certain ways to do a blog post. You want to create another inspiration board. Okay, these are all the ways that I can design a blog. Of these, which makes more sense to my user? So you can just draw inspirations upon inspirations, and then you get a clearer picture of how you would want to build, what you want to build. So this is in this in. I know I wasted a lot of your time, but I think I try to condense it down as much as I can. I try to not ramble as much as I can, but this is, I think, the way it has worked for me, and I think it should work for you, and I hope it works for you. So this is how I would design a user experience. And this is really my thought process in general of how I work. Again, not all credits to me. This is not something I invented or something. It's something that you can learn elsewhere. I actually learned this from multiple sources, like one from a university and a couple of from my projects and other sources. So yeah, so this is how it works. And I think if you found this video useful, and if you have other questions, feel free to email me. If you want this template by any means, you can also email me. I can try to share this with you. You can duplicate this project and work on your own if you want to use with Figma. If you don't want to use, like I said again, you can use PowerPoint for mood boards and everything else. You can do it on paper and pen. It's really get working and get to work. Okay, as soon as possible, jot down ideas, go make that thing that you're dreaming to big. So with that said, thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, hit subscribe to this channel to watch more videos of this kind, and also videos on development and design. And I will see you guys in the next year, 2019. And I wish you guys a happy